Hello guys, Fred here from Pro Tennis Trader. Hope you're well. In this video, I'm going to be exploring what stats you should be looking at in play in the tennis markets if you want to get more winning trades. Now okay, some traders will tell you that they will purely be looking at a pricing scenario, and many will not even consider in-play stats. Now I don't trade this way, because this is literally akin to gambling in my opinion, as you have no idea what is actually going on in the match. Now not only is it important to see what's going on with how points are won and lost, but you should always, again in my opinion, be able to view the match as well so that you can see how the players are performing. Now imagine that you see a great pricing scenario at the start of the second set and get into a trade only for your player to retire after one game and completely wipe out your trade. Had you been watching the match, then you would have seen that the player was injured and you would not have entered into that trade had you seen this. Now if you're not looking at what's going on in the market, then you are simply trading blind. Now imagine you're trading the Forex market and you have just bought the US dollar without looking at what announcements are just about to take place. Now say the unemployment rate report is then published a few minutes later. Well, if the news is not good, then you'll be wiped out of your trade within seconds when this announcement goes live. This is trading blind and is a sure way to lose all of your money very quickly. So therefore, it's important when trading any in-play market to have a good idea of what is actually happening in real time. Now, as you know, if you follow my strategies, the majority of my trades take place in the second set, and therefore I have a whole first set of stats and data to look at in order to establish whether or not to enter into a trade. So, where can you access this data for in-play stats? Well, you don't need any fancy software or even pay for any of this. All of the stats that you need for trading tennis matches in play is freely available at flashscore.com. So let's take a look at how I use these stats in play during a tennis match. So if we take a look at the match of Gerasimov versus Montero in the Munich qualifications. Now qualification matches can be a great source of tennis trading provided that you've got enough liquidity for your level of stake. Now in this match, Montero was the favourite going into this match at the price of 1.40 and Gerasimov priced at 2.75. So with Montero dropping the first set, we had a nice pricing scenario for a potential drifting favourite trade back in Montero in the second set. But of course, as I said earlier, you can't simply look at the price drift as a deciding factor on whether to enter into a trade. You need to know what has gone on in this first set. So the first thing to look at before looking at the stats is how the points have been won and lost by simply looking at the scoring. Now we can see here that in the first service game of the first set, Gerasimov held quite comfortably. 15 love, 30 love, 40 love. In Montero's first service game, he also held, but there was a little bit more of a challenge here. He got to 30-40 and then won his service game from there. In Gerasimov's second service game, he won this again quite cleanly, with Montero just scoring the 1 point. Now in Montero's second service game, he was actually broken here, but he did get to 30 all, so again, no major alarm bells here. Gerasimov then confirmed the break to take it to 4-1. Montero then lost his third service game, and then Gerasimov held to confirm the break and to take the set. So from this information, there are no major alarm bells. We can see Montero drop 2 service games, but very often a player will come back from a first set loss like this to then win the second set and often the third, especially if they started off the match as a favourite. But this does not give us the clear picture that we need in order to make a calculated decision on whether or not to trade this match. So let's take a look at the stats. So aces are nice to know, but unless there are an extraordinary amount in the first set, then this is not overly useful to us. Now 3 aces by Gerasimov is by no means significant here, nor is the fact that Montero had none. Now it is often a good indicator of who is serving on form, but really only if the numbers are out of the norm. Double faults, again, unless extraordinary for a first set, still does not give us that much of a picture. Now here, Gerasimov had none, with Montero having 1, so not much in it at all. Now first serve percentage, is of some relevance as we want to be backing a player who is getting their first serves in. Now here, actually Montero has the higher first serve percentage of 65% versus 62% from Gerasimov. But, and this is a major but, Gerasimov got 92% of his first serves in versus only 36% from Montero. Now this is a major alarm bell which we need to take note of. In addition to this, you can then see that Montero only won 50% of his second serves versus 63% from Gerasimov. Now with breakpoints saved, again, unless there are extraordinary numbers here, it is not that relevant a stat. Now it will often show strength of character. So for example, if the player you want to back has saved a lot of breakpoints, then this is a real positive which may help you in your decision of whether or not to back that player in the second set. First serve return points are important if there is a clear unbalance, which there is here, with Gerasimov winning 7 out of 11 returns versus just 1 out of 13 returns from Montero. Now this is a major alarm bell, which of course we should take into account when deciding whether or not to back Montero in the second set. Now second service returns, again, if there's nothing extraordinary here, then we can simply dismiss it. Now breakpoints converted can be a good indicator of how well the player is performing, as statistically it is harder to convert breakpoints than to hold your service game. But there was nothing significant here in this match. Service points won? Well, we already have been given a clear indication of this from the above with the first service points won. So this is information that just confirms this for us. This is of course the same situation with return points, which brings us on to the natural assumption of Gerasimov winning more overall points. Now quite often there can be very little difference in this, as there could often be that slight edge to mean winning or losing a set, but not in this scenario. Now if the numbers here are much more even, then this of course will often signal a potentially very good trading match. Now just to note, you could get, and this happens quite frequently, a player winning the first set, either 6-love or 6-1, and actually the percentage of overall points won could well just be 51% versus 49%. Now this is why we can never take the scoring on its own without looking at the stats. So then finally, we have the stats on how the games were won. Well, having looked at the scoring before the stats, we know the answer to this, and of course the same goes for return games won and total games won. Now one other stat that is missing from flashscore.com is unforced errors, which is another important stat that is useful to know when trading in-play tennis matches. Now up until recently, this was a stat that was easy to access on the in-play streams on sites such as Bet365 and Betfair. However, this is now a stat that is often only provided on televised events. But of course, when this stat is available, this can be another great indicator of how a player is performing. Now if the player you want to back in the second set has had a large number of unforced errors in the first, then you may want to reconsider your decision to back that player. So there you have it. You can see clearly from this video that you can't just take the scoring on its own as an indicator of how a player has performed during a match. It is important to take a look at the stats and of course pay attention to the stats that I have particularly picked out in order to give you a better indication of whether you should trade a certain player in the second set. Now as it is with this match between Gerasimov and Montero, despite Montero being the outright favourite before the match started, the stats gave me a good enough indication that it would not be wise to back him in the second set. And of course, this was proved to be the correct decision as he went on to lose the second set. I really hope you've enjoyed the video, and if you would like to become a tennis trader as well, then you can sign up to my free introductory course into tennis trading at protennistrader.com. And for a limited time only, you can also claim a free copy of my ebook, Tennis Trading, the Ultimate Guide to Getting Started, plus bonus strategy. Please don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to get more videos just like this one. I'll see you again soon.